Are the Tories completely dead? Do you have no opinion on them anymore? What do you think?
I think it's probably not the wisest move to put an immigrant in charge when the sentiment of the nation is going towards anti-immigration. And then having the immigrant promise to do all of the based anti-immigration stuff. I think representation actually does matter. And I think most of the country don't really see themselves represented in Olu Kemi Badenoch. I don't know why I do know why they've chosen it. The Tory membership were like, right, Labour aren't going to call us racist now. And it's like, yeah, true, because you're totally irrelevant. They're going to call Nigel Farage a racist instead because he's relevant and because he actually embodies something about Britain, particularly England, that people actually feel represented in and resonates with them. And so you can sit there with your diversity hire, which is what Kemi Badenoch is, and that's how she's arrived at the top of the Conservative Party, which is remarkable because the Conservative Party is just there in the very admission of Kemi Badenoch as their party leader saying, yeah, no, we are exactly what Labour have made of us. They beat us with the racist stick until we put an African immigrant in charge and therefore elect us and we'll govern the country in the way that you want. No, you're going to govern the country exactly as you always have, in the way that Labour wants. You've always done everything the Labour Party have wanted from you because you don't know how to reject their moral judgments of you. You don't know how to reject them in any way, shape or form. And so you just sit there and go, yeah, we're just the right wing of the Labour Party. We're just like, yeah, we want Labour. Just 5 years later, actually. We just want a bit of slur. And that's all the Conservatives have ever offered and can offer. And so what's the point? What's the point of voting for the Conservatives? I may as well vote for the Labour Party and get at least what they're promising now. Like, I don't,
Why get it later?
Exactly. Why bother?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's the Conservative Party is basically ridiculous at this point. And they're so wedded to, like, inner party harmony that I saw Michael Gove's interview with Harrison Pitt where he was saying, oh, yeah, no, Kemi Badenoch will be the leader for 20 years. It's like, great, because I was leading the Zero Seats campaign. Great, I want Kemi Badenoch to be the Conservative Party leader for 20 years because I want Nigel Farage's majority to be unchallengeable. I want him to have 500 seats. I want him to be the defining politician of the next 100 years if he is prepared to step into the mold and actually do it. I want him to have this kind of legendary run through politics at the end of it, where he just goes in and goes, right, I've got David Starkey's Great Repeal Bill, and I'm going to just do everything we should have done when Enoch Powell was not in charge, but in the Conservative Party. We're going to do all of this because that's how Britain should be, and we have the power to reset it. And at any point, we actually could get a government of like 400 patriots and just go mental, basically, like Tony Blair did, in fact, with communists. Get a party of 400 traitors and backstab the country for generations. Well, we could get a party of 400 patriots and just fix all of this forever. The power lays in Parliament, whether they like it or not. And you just have to know what to do and have the will to do it.
Yeah, that's the hard part. So you're of the view that Kemi is an immigrant because she sort of touched down here.
Because she
was
came
born
from
here.
Africa, yeah.
She was born here, then she grew up in Nigeria until she was 16.
Exactly. Like this anchor baby nonsense was abolished not long after she was born as well. So because we're not America. And
you were right about the framing, because I was watching Matthew Syed's speech. He's just joined the Tories 2 weeks ago as we
sounds like a typical Tory.
Yeah, he joined and he did a speech. It was more intelligent than a lot of the speeches you get, but it was still framed from the left. He spoke out against cousin marriage and Sharia courts, which was nice, but he did say it from the perspective of Sharia courts are sexist, and he also said, do brown women not count? So it's the bigotry of reverse expectations, meaning we ignore things like Sharia because it's inconvenient for the left, so they allow sort of human rights abuses to take place. Far more obvious point is just, of course, we don't want Sharia courts in England. We don't really have to even explain why. But he could only explain it from a left-wing human rights perspective, which I thought, and sexism, which was kind of interesting.
Sounds like you're fitting perfectly in the Conservatives.
It does, actually,
because this is the kind of thing that Labour just don't bring up anymore. They dropped all of that about 4 or 5 years ago, actually, didn't they? Like, if you listen to them now, they don't go around running around calling everyone sexist. Like, it's actually the Green Party who are still doing that. Like,
you think Labour are more based than the current Tories?
It's not that they're based. It's just that's an angle of attack whose time has passed, right? But the Conservatives are still like, oh yeah, we're an anti-sexist, anti-racist party. It's like, okay, and Nigel Farage doesn't claim to be that. I mean, he does sometimes, but like, the popular perception is that Nigel Farage is not that. Like, I saw polling the other day that suggested that something like a quarter of Reform voters, like, half of Labour voters are like, oh yeah, Reform are a racist party. Like 40% of Conservative voters are like, yeah, Reform is a racist party. And 25% of Reform voters are like, yeah, Reform is a racist party. So, this is the popular perception is that Reform are the right-wing racist party. And yet the Conservatives are still like, yeah, no, guys, we're woke.
Yeah, and it's kind of ridiculous. But I guess Reform's our best bet, like you said. Can we even recover from this radical change in demographics? You were saying if we had 400 patriots, we could fix everything. But with immigration policy being as absurd as it's been with the Boris wave and so on, and with the low birth rate issue, can we ever actually logistically recover this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Everything can be recovered.
Nice.
Think about the Reconquista, where the Spanish had lost something like 90% of Spain. And it took them 700 years, but they just won it all back. We can easily do it. Anything can be done.
It's just our time scale is a bit off. We always want to do it like now in our lifetimes, but it might be a massive project.
Yeah. It's doubtless going to take generations. But, England in the beginning of the 1990s was 95% English, and now it's 75% English. That's not good, but you can see that we are still the overwhelming demographic majority of the country. And the question is, who wants it more? Do they want England more than we want England? And the answer is, of course, no, because we're paying them to be here. If we just, honestly, you would solve half of the immigration problem overnight if you just turned off the money. If you stopped foreigners from claiming benefits, from being able to access the NHS, from getting free housing, half of them would go home.
Do you think mainstream political parties can ever espouse these kinds of positions? Are they kind of locked in what is sometimes called the Civnat position? Can they ever talk, in other words, in terms of the interests of something like the native British people or whatever it would be called? Can they ever broach that?
Probably not, but they can still enact policy that does. Nigel Farage saying we're going to end indefinite leave to remain, and then everyone calling him a racist, and then Shabana Mahmood and the Labour Party going, yeah, that's a good idea. We're going to end indefinite leave to remain as well. It is entirely possible, as they're showing us, and that's now, right? Who knows where we'll be in 10 years when the Zoomers are actually a large percentage of the workforce goose-stepping down the road, I think things are changing quite rapidly. And it's the Boomers are some of the most liberal people left in society, frankly. So, committed to the sort of 20th century view of the liberal British state. They have not replicated this attitude in younger generations. And that's more for them. They're going to get something very different that they probably wouldn't agree with. But there we go. This is the world that they've created. And if they're not happy with it, maybe they should take some accountability for that.